Hey book fans and book nerds of the world, it's Elias and welcome back to another video here on E&E Book Reviews. In today's video, I am going to be doing a book review on the next and newest installment in the Goosebumps House of Shivers series, and this is titled Goosebumps House of Shivers, What We Do at Night. So this is the 7th volume in this new Goosebumps series. I have read all of them so far. Some have been bad, some have been good, some have been decent, and I'm going to tell you all my thoughts on this newest installment. So first of all, What We Do at Night does not release until August 4th, which, from when this video is recorded, it's not coming out for another 3 days. But yesterday, I went to Barnes & Noble, because, I was looking for books, and I was surprised to see that the bookstore actually had this book on sale early. There's been a really weird thing that Barnes & Noble has been doing for the past couple of years with these Goosebumps books. And it's basically this trend where they are putting these Goosebumps books on the shelf like weeks before the book's official release date. I was even on Instagram like 3 weeks ago and I already saw many book talkers who were already doing reviews on this book. I'm like, the book doesn't come out for another month and you already have it and you already read it? So I don't know what's up with like the publishing company and why they keep doing this. But for me, I really love it because it gives me a chance to read these books before the whole world does. And I get to kind of have a early inside scope on the story before everyone else, like my friend, reads it, which is a really cool perk of going to Barnes & Noble compared to ordering this book on Amazon, which doesn't, come out for another 3 days. But the fact that I was able to get this early is amazing. So, What We Do at Night, what is this story about? So, this is probably the most straightforward Goosebumps book I have ever read. As you guys know, Goosebumps is a series that is, written for middle grade and young readers. But it doesn't mean that the books are necessarily, like, easy and that there isn't any plot twist or anything. Most of the Goosebumps books you read, there is some kind of plot twist. There is some kind of thing you don't see coming. And many of the Goosebumps books have this really good formula of writing. However, this book just felt different from the beginning. The moment I picked it up, it just felt like a completely different Goosebumps book the moment I started page 1. And even when I finished and closed the book, like 5 minutes ago, I kind of just sat there and was like, what the hell did I just read? So the plot is very straightforward. If you are thinking that this is, a new Goosebumps book that is going to have lots of surprises and lots of amazing things that the other Goosebumps books do, this is not your book, okay? I'm just going to say it right off the bat. Now, I'm not saying that this book wasn't enjoyable. I actually read this book in one sitting, and it was incredible. It was an amazing experience for me. I wasn't bored. I wasn't really frustrated. It was a very, pleasing Goosebumps book that you want to keep turning the pages. However, it's very simple. So let me tell you about the plot of the story. So our main character in this book is Noah Baumgartner, if I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, the character has a very weird and long last name. But yeah, Noah Baumgartner, the book opens with him on a hot April night, and he cannot sleep. He's very sticky. He just moved into a new neighborhood, so he doesn't have any air conditioning yet. He has no friends. He just moved last week, and he's kind of like the new kid on the block. So it's a hot, sticky April day. He can't sleep, so he decides to go for a walk around his neighborhood at night. And when he walks around the neighborhood, something very strange happens. He finds these group of 4 kids who are hanging out like in this alley section of town, and they're very weird looking. They have very weird appearances, and they come off as this very eerie kind of weird group. But of course, Noah, since he's the new kid in town, he hasn't met anyone yet. He doesn't have any friends. It's kind of hard for him, to transition into school when there's only 1 month until summer. So he decides, you know what? I'm going to make a stupid decision and talk to these kids because I want to make some friends and maybe I could, build a good connection with them. Which was a terrible choice to make. I mean, I understand that Noah, it's good to make friends and it's good to put yourself out there. But the group that he decides to become friends with is a group that will tear him apart. It is a group that will lead to many horrific events. It is a group that has a very big secret, which we kind of later find out in the story. But you guys can probably guess the secret right just from the cover of the book alone. It turns out that these kids at night actually transform and metamorphose into crows. So at nighttime, these kids, instead of, doing normal stuff that Noah thinks they're doing, like, playing baseball, going to the park, maybe going to the movies, maybe ding-dong ditching, these kids do the complete opposite. They metamorphose into these crows that go havoc during the night. They fly, they, get into lots of trouble. They also appear on the news when they barricade restaurants and when they destroy convenience stores. These kids have a very, very dark secret. The thing I hate about this book specifically is that once you find out on page 40 that this kid's best friends are crows, the book becomes pointless, right? Because originally when I picked up this book, I had an idea that this had to do something with, kids becoming crows or kids having a secret identity. I mean, just from the title alone, What We Do at Night, and the image, of like this kid turning into a crow and just like swooping around the neighborhood, I knew right off the bat what the plot was going to be about. So when I went into the story, I was kind of expecting, some kind of big plot twist to happen. I thought maybe, the crow identity wouldn't be revealed until the end, when it was actually the opposite. We find out that these kids are crows on page 40, and then the rest of the story is kind of just pointless. So back to the beginning of the book, Noah, he sees these kids, he finds out they're crows, and he basically wants to join their club, which they call themselves the Nightwings. I believe that's the name, the Nightwings. So in order to join this club, Noah has to pass some tests. And these tests are very, very odd. One of the tests is he has to climb a very tall tree. Another test is he has to eat these worms. Another test, which is the scariest test, is he has to go to the side of this mountain in their neighborhood and he has to jump off the mountain. And it isn't until he gets to the mountain test when he realizes that these kids have a secret identity, which is that they're crows. So the kids, they fly in the air, they turn into crows, and they wreak havoc. And as soon as Noah finds out that these kids have this supernatural ability, Noah becomes a little bit frightened, and he begins to tell people at school about these kids and their secret club, which of course goes completely backsided when the crows begin to attack Noah. They are angry that Noah is exposing their club. They are angry that Noah has turned against them and is revealing their identity, because what they do at night is secret and no one should know about their secret identity. So the rest of the book from that point on is Noah having these different encounters with the crows and Noah trying to convince his family and get evidence that these kids that he met are strange, and that he wants to get payback at them for destroying Noah's life. The ending is one of the most frustrating endings that I have ever read in a Goosebumps book. If you haven't read the book and you don't want to hear the ending, skip along this video. But if you want to hear my thoughts on the ending, I'm going to tell you right now. Okay? So the book is 140 pages. Like I mentioned, those 135 pages is all about Noah meeting a new group of kids, finds out that they're crows and they have the secret identity. He tries, getting evidence and telling people the dangers of this group. The crows, meanwhile, retaliate and get back at Noah for exposing their secret. And then at the end, when Noah is attacked by these crows, when he realizes that he has to finally do something about it, which is his one big secret. And it turns out that Noah, at the end, this is so stupid just saying it, Noah turns into a cat. Just pause for a second. Noah turns into a cat. When I read that, I was just like, huh? What the heck? Noah is a cat? What? And Noah, he turns into a cat. He destroys and he kills all of the crows. And he lives happily ever after. I know, that was a very confusing plot twist that, yes, I didn't see coming. But at the same time, it was also like, what the heck did I just read? I'm going to read the last page to you, which will explain more of what happens, okay? So this is right when Noah is attacked by the crows. The crows followed me down to the ground, pounding their bodies into me, pecking and drawing me with their beaks, their wings flaring hard against me. Just what I wanted. I had promised Mom and Dad I wouldn't use my secret in this new town, but now I knew I had no choice. I shut my eyes tight and tensed every muscle in my body. It took only a few seconds. I could feel myself changing into a cat, a large feral cat. In case you don't know what that is, a feral cat is a wild cat. A feral cat is an untamed cat. That was me. That was my secret. The crows didn't have time to react. I pounced on the nearest one, grabbed it between my claws, and heaved it over the edge. I had won. The night birds would never bother me or threaten me again. Yelling at the sky, I cried out my victory. That's the ending of the book. Very, very confusing. So, if I had to rate this book on a scale of 1 to 10, I would have to give it a 7. This book, in no doubt, was not horrible. I'm not saying that at all. I think R.L. Stine was actually a very good writer when it came to writing this book. I think he had lots of intriguing scenes. He had lots of great descriptions. And I feel like overall it was an enjoyable page turner that wanted me to keep reaching the end. However, now reflecting back on it, I would not reread this book because it's basically pointless. As soon as you know on page 20 that these kids are crows, that's basically just the rest of the story. You don't even need to read anymore. I feel like also I was a little bit disappointed. I had a lot of hype for this book, especially when the cover and title was revealed last August. I had lots of expectations. As you guys know, the House of Silver series has not been that great. So I was hoping that maybe this would be, the House of Silver book where everything would change. I thought, it would be the book that would, tell all of us Goosebumps fans, hey, R.L. Stine still has it in him. And, he could still pull off writing Goosebumps books at 80 years old. However, that was not the complete case. Like I mentioned, the book was enjoyable. I didn't really find myself being, like, this is such a waste of time. However, I think overall, as you read this book, you will have this feeling that this book is different. You'll have this feeling that this book takes a very different, direction than any other Goosebumps book. And that, for the most part, it's pretty a straightforward read. simple plot, not too much plot twists. Besides the main character, you know, being a cat, that's only the kind of main plot twist. There wasn't really much scary parts in this book like I was expecting. I was expecting, you know, maybe some more gore, kind of like the Alfred Hitchcock movie, The Birds. I was expecting, you know, maybe some more creepy scenes of the kids, you know, maybe stalking Noah or, you know, doing some more creepy things that, you know, the usual Goosebumps books are so great at. But this one, there wasn't really much horror. There was a few scenes of, you know, some pretty crude pranks, like Noah eating a worm sandwich or opening his locker and water spilling out, or, you know, being attacked by, you know, some birds at the end of the book. But other than that, it really wasn't that scary. There wasn't really much horror. It just kind of felt like a mystery novel of figuring out and trying to show evidence about a mysterious society. This book, it kind of felt very similar to the book Calling All Creeps, if you guys have ever read this original Goosebumps book. A very, you know, straightforward plot about a kid who moves to a new town, doesn't have friends. He joins a organization who have a big secret. So it was very similar to Calling All Creeps, and it also reminded me a lot of the Goosebumps Slappy Road book, Night of the Squawker. So if you want to know anything about this book, I would say in one sentence, it is basically Night of the Squawker and Calling All Creeps combined. That's literally it. This and this combined makes this book. It has a mix of, you know, a strange friend group, and it has a mix of a secret identity, which is being a raven and a bird. So that's kind of an observation I noted about this book relating to these previous Goosebumps books. So that's probably all I'm going to say for this review. I'm glad that I got my hands on it early. I'm glad that I was able to read it. Overall, like I said, it was a very page-turning novel that kept, you know, making me want to reach the end. However, when you look back at this book in retrospect after the experience, you realize that there really isn't much to it compared to other Goosebumps books. There really isn't that much score. There isn't really much plot twists. And it's a very different Goosebumps book that I think many people were not expecting. There's been some hype about this book. There's been some, you know, skepticism about this book. And I would say that coming into this book, I didn't really have any high expectations. I knew the plot was going to be kind of stupid. I knew that R.L. Stine is getting old and that his last couple of books have not been that good, including One Night at Camp Bigfoot. I didn't have lots of high expectations. I know some people did, so if you're one of those people, I think that many are going to be disappointed. But at the same time, if you come into this book as a Goosebumps fan, as someone just wanting to read the next installment, then I think you'll quite enjoy it. But that's my review on Goosebumps, What We Do at Night. I can't wait to watch some more reviews of this book when it officially releases on August 4th on Tuesday. But that's my review for this one. The next Goosebumps book that comes out is not till March. I gotta wait about 7 months now, which is so stupid. I miss when R.L. Stine used to publish books every month, but now I have to wait, which seems so far away. And then the next one that is coming out in March of 2027 is How to Train Your Dummy, which this one I am not looking forward to. It looks like it's going to be another stupid dummy book, and I don't know why Slappy's on the cover. This series was supposed to be about new villains and new horrors, and I don't know why they're bringing back Slappy. Probably because this book series is failing financially, and they realize the only way to make money is to bring Slappy back. But yeah, either way, I'm going to pre-order it. I'm going to keep reading these Goosebumps House Silver books as they come out. Like I said, I've been reading Goosebumps since I was in 4th grade. I've been collecting all of them for a long time now. So, if a Goosebumps book's bad, if a Goosebumps book's good, it doesn't matter to me as long as I read these books, as long as I, you know, just get to enjoy the experience, then that is enough for me to keep on buying these. But yeah, that's my review on What We Do at Night. Tell me your guys' thoughts in the comments, what you thought of this book, and I will see you on another review very, very soon. Peace out, guys. Thank you. What We Do at Night. Get your copies today.